We need to start with the final book cover PNG assignment, and we are going to download the template. And this template will open up in Photoshop for you. Notice it has a front side, a spine, and a back side. Each of those panels is actually divided up into different groups inside of Photoshop. I'm going to start with my front side. And I'm going to keep in mind that what I'm doing right now is just laying out my imagery. So I'm not going to worry so much about keeping my images within this blue box. I can go ahead and stretch them beyond this point unless there's something specific that I don't want cropped off. The only thing these blue lines are really good for me, for my design right now, is the type, which is going to be added inside of Illustrator. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on my front side first. I fortunately have access to my library, so I was able to store everything in here. If you don't have access to your book cover library within Creative Cloud, what you're going to have to do is File Open, and you're going to have to go to your desktop folder and open them individually. When you open them, they'll open up in their separate tabs. You can either pick them up and drop them into here, or you can do your selection in that tab and then carry the selection over into here. So I'm going to lay out my background. I decided for my design that I was going to actually have the same background stretch across the entire back of my book. That might not be your case. So what I'm doing right now is specific to my design. I just want to show you how to lay out all the images. So I'm going to focus on bringing that picture back in. The nice thing about having the different artboards too is that you can activate them by clicking on them. So now I've switched over to my spine. And the goal for this is that each of my panels line up with each other. So I'm going to activate my backside. Okay, just taking a look at this, I just want to make sure I get the branches lined up. There's no random white area showing along the edge, which I kind of see up here. Okay, everything looks good. It looks aligned and in place. So now I'm ready to go ahead and start really focusing in on some of the graphics for the front side. In my libraries, I have an image that I like. I'm going to grab a selection tool. Depending on what your object is that you might be selecting, you would choose from this. You can also choose from any of the selection tools. I'm going to choose Object Select because I want to just click on her. And somehow the computer just magically knows how to pick her up. The reason this does work well with this image is because the image is up against a very plain background. Those are always going to be your images that cause you the least amount of problems when selecting, because the computer's not having that hard of a time trying to pick up the pixels. So I'm going to go ahead and carry her over and place her on the front. I do not want to take her off to the side of outside this blue area because I don't want her hair to get cropped off, but I don't mind having the bottom part of her kimono all the way to the edge, because if I was to put her up above that blue line, it would look like she's floating in space, which doesn't really look the best. So I'm just going to make sure that her shoulders are touching the sides. I'm going off a little bit, but again, not including her hair. Okay. Elongate her face a little bit. Okay, good. I'm gonna grab my other image, which is the fan. Oops, we have to click return. Let's grab the fan. In this case, I'm actually going to grab my white and I'm going to tell the computer to select similar. And then I'm going to just drag my selection tool with the option key held down through the fan. And you might be asking why I'm picking up the things that I don't want. Sometimes it really honestly is better if you do that and then you inverse your selection. So now everything that I want is selected, minus a few other things, but I can go back and just quickly take that out of the selection. And then I would carry this over. And I'm going to put that behind her and enlarge it. Okay, and because the fan would typically be on this side, I'm going to go ahead with this and I'm actually going to copy this layer, Command J, and I'm going to place it on the spine and have it match. Perfect. Okay. The other thing I want to consider too is making sure that everything is aligned properly. So you can do that by checking these guidelines. See those pink lines? That's going to tell you that you're in the center. That's really helpful when you're trying to align things. So now I know that everything along this book cover is perfectly straight and centered. Okay, now we're going to focus on the spine. I'm done adding my imagery to the front. I still need for my spine to add the publisher, which I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and I didn't need to double click. I could have just picked it up and dragged it in. And I'm going to place it. And let's see where it ended up. There it is. Okay, Command T. This is one of those images you don't want to take into the blue area because this is where the fold of the book is. So I really do need to make sure with this image specifically that I stick within this blue section. So I'm just going to kind of make sure it's tucked in there. And make sure it looks nice and straight. Okay, and I'm going to bring it down because I'm also going to have to put eventually the title and the author's name. So I want to make sure to give myself enough space. Let's zoom out and let's focus on the back. So as of now, I don't have anything type-wise to go on the back. What I'm going to focus on is just laying out the author's portrait. And so I'm going to double click on the back side and I'm going to place him. You don't want it too big and you don't want it too small because you have to consider the fact that you're going to have type up here, and you also need to leave room for the author's bio and also the barcode that's going to go in this bottom right corner. So I'm just going to place him here. Perfect. Okay, now this looks good. I like what I have. I've got the imagery for the cover, I've got my publisher's logo, and now I have the author's poster or portrait, and I'm ready to save these as PNG files. The first thing you want to do though is save as, and make sure you save it as a PSD. And then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to export them as PNG files, making sure that all 3 of these artboards are checked. Those are the 3 that are going to go into Illustrator and you're going to add text to. And as you can see, Photoshop takes up a lot of memory, so this process could take a little bit of time. And once it's done, you're going to have 3 different panels completed, ready to turn in for this assignment. You will take these 3 panels and actually turn them in on canvas. So you're going to tell it to export it to your desktop or to Creative Cloud. And then turn them in under this assignment.